Today on Exposing the Back, we're going to be taking the back from side control. Alright guys, today on Exposing the Back, I'm going to be giving you guys two options to take the back from side control. Side control is one of my favorite positions in Jiu-Jitsu, and it's a perfect position for you to submit your opponent and or transition into other attacks. And so we're going to show you those back controls. Let's do it. Alright guys, today on Exposing the Back, we're going to be working from my favorite position, and that's side control. Side control is, I think, one of the most dynamic positions in all of Jiu-Jitsu because I have lots of different options. It's a perfect place for me to transition into other attacks and other positions. So today, I'm going to be giving you guys two of my favorite ways to take the back from attacks that I use personally. These are things that I set up all the time in my game when I'm fighting in tournaments and things like that. So don't tell my opponents as I'm doing this. Alright, so here we go. Today we're going to be starting from our side control position. So I've already passed the guard now and I've gotten a good side control. Now whenever I get into side control, most of the time your opponents are going to still have their frames in, right? So I've got to make sure that I'm controlling my opponent. I'm going to be heavy cross facing my opponent and starting to turn them to the back. A lot of the times if they're not turning here, if they're just staying flat, what I'll do is I'll start walking my hips back towards their hips, and that starts to turn them to the side as well. Now here, one of my favorite things to do is a two-finger choke. So I start to feed my hand around and I'll grab the lapel and I'll stick it into two fingers right here, all right? I've gotten this choke several different times, lots of different ways. I can step over, I can put my knee in, lots of different options. But if my opponent is defending this really, really well, they grab my hand and they start to try to turtle, right? Now, if I allow them to turtle, it's gonna be very, very difficult for me to get their back because they're gonna throw their elbows down, and so I don't want that. So what I do is I keep my elbow in tight to prevent the turtle, to prevent them from coming all the way over, and I stay heavy and tight to their chest. Now he's grasping my hand. This is gonna make that choke extremely difficult to finish. So what I'll do is I'll come in over the top of his hand and I'll wrap that hand up and I'll go two hands on top of it. So I'll do a two-handed gift wrap on top of his hand right here. Now I'm gonna ramp him, all right? So I'm gonna put that pressure forward so I can put my knee straight to his back. As soon as I get my knee ramped to his back, now I'm gonna pull him into my lap, stepping over as I do it. So step over, pull him into my lap, pull him around, set the second hook, and then go right in for my attacks and my chokes from there. All right, so that is one of my favorite ways to take the back. Used it in several competitions, works fantastic. Threaten with the choke, then take the back next. I'm gonna show you guys another way to take the back with a Kimura trap. All right guys, the second option I'm gonna give you guys is a Kimura trap, all right? Kimura traps normally are done from maybe a diving position or something like that, but there's a perfect Kimura trap that you can do from the side control position that will allow you to take your opponent's back. All right, so we're gonna get right back into it. All right, so I've passed my opponent's guard, but he's got his frames in nice and tight, okay? So whenever I'm in here, right, I'm making sure that I'm guarding my leg on this side because he's gonna try to turn his hips and step over that leg, so that leg is kicked in, and then I'm pulling him in tight. I don't push forward pressure, I pull him in underneath me, and I put downward pressure, okay? So from here, I'm gonna isolate his arm, all right? So I swing my hand around, and I isolate that arm. Once I've got that arm isolated, I don't actually go for my Kimura lock here. I'm gonna actually go for an Americana lock, or a lot of times I'll go for a wrist lock right here, and that'll make him wanna hide his hand. Okay, so once I start attacking that arm in that position, he likes to hide the hand. This is where I'm gonna go for my Kimura lock. But before I set up my Kimura lock, I need to deal with this frame that's underneath me. If I go for my Kimura lock too soon, he'll be able to elevate me and or come underneath me and escape. So what I do is I drop my hip. So I drop my hip to crush that frame. Once I've dropped my hip, now I'll punch my hand underneath here and I can start going after this Kimura lock, all right? Now, whenever you get this Kimura lock in this position, he's gonna have the best defense defense available to him. He's gonna be able to grab his opposite side lapel, which is gonna give him the best defense available. That's not gonna stop us from taking his back from here. So when I step up, all right, I'm gonna step my knee up and I'm gonna pull him up into this position so that I can start going after my Kimura attack. Whenever I'm in my Kimura attack, I sit heavy on the head and I try to pull that arm away from his body and then up and over. But a lot of times you pull and you can't get them to release. That's fine. We're gonna pull a couple times, check and make sure we can't get that arm out. Once I know that I can't get that arm out, I'm gonna go into my back attack from here. So my hips are gonna slide around the back, I'm gonna pull this hand around the head, and I'm gonna grab my own wrists, all right? So from here, we need to create the same ramp that we did before. So this top leg is gonna come underneath, I'm gonna switch, I'm gonna pull him forward, and I'm gonna step over his body here, so now I can ramp him into my lap. So once I've gotten in this position here, I start to fall backwards, pulling him upwards into my lap, and I set my second hook from here, and I'll go right into my lapel chokes or whatever's available at that point to go ahead and make him tap. All right, so that's the second way that you can attack the back from the side control position using your threat of a submission, all right? Always be threatening from side control. Threaten to transition in the mount, threaten the knee on belly, threaten his arm, threaten his neck. You have lots of different options there to make your opponent react that can expose things. And today, we got him to expose the back because he sucks at jiu-jitsu and you don't. So go train more, try these techniques out, leave a comment down below, let us know how they go for you, and we'll see you guys on the next one.